The lifeboat wasn't much more than a cryo bath in space. After escaping from the planet, Kanden spent the first 10 days trying to resist going under, but soon his food was running short, and he still had no idea how long it would take to be rescued. He'd sent out the beacon, and now his fate was up to the Bellow gods. As a last task before cryo-sleep, Kanden roughed out a written report about the events that had taken place on the planet LV-426, a place the humans called Regalia. It was not a comfortable report to write. Never in the history of the Endalins had his people been so thoroughly defeated by such a small force. There had been defeats before, but usually against overwhelming strength. But on Regalia, the Endalins had an 11-to-1 numerical superiority, and still they lost. In the long hours before Kanden slipped into the cryo suit, he tried to reason out the engagement, but nothing made sense. Perhaps someday, if he were rescued, he would get a chance to fully articulate his thoughts and concerns. They were many, and they were grave. And not only that, but Kanden felt a sense of urgency and despair. If he didn't survive to warn his people of the humans, then what would happen at their next encounter? Kanden feared for the survival of his race. He awoke in a hospital bed, feeling the familiar trembles of cryo-wake. Instantly, his mind realized where he was and what had happened. By the grace of the Bellow gods, he survived. It was a miracle. However, something did not feel right. Medical personnel were hovering around him, jabbing needles into his arms and shoulders. His metabolism felt like waves on an ocean, with his temperature alternating between freezing cold and scorching hot. "What is happening to me?" Kanden yelled out. "This is not right." Someone placed a hand on his chest and said, "Relax. We have been ordered to revive you prior to natural recovery. The drugs will make you cognizant, at least temporarily. Unfortunately, there is a very strong possibility that you will soon expire. However, the Commission feels it is imperative that you give testimony today. And in a few time cycles, you will be able to make your report, but after that I can make no promises." Kanden nodded solemnly. He had a duty to his people and to the Commission. In their wisdom, they had decided that his report on the affair on LV-426 was more important than his life. He agreed. He mentally thanked the gods for allowing him this opportunity. He could now die with a clear conscience. A few minutes later, Kanden was placed in a wheeled chair and taken to the commission chambers, but not the main chamber, rather a side room where only the senior commission sat waiting for him. By now, the drugs were in full effect. He would be able to give his report without difficulty, although it would be the last report he would ever give. Second lead Razin Kanden, began the lead commissioner Jazer, "We have not much time." "You do not have much time. We have all read your written report, and now we need more clarification. Are you prepared to give your testimony?" "I am, Commissioner," Kanden replied, his voice now strong with urgency. "If I may, I will begin the narrative. First of all, the humans are shorter creatures than us, however, they are incredibly dense and strong. They have rippled arms and legs, not unlike the tree dwellers of LV-32. Their heads are round and they have hair on their bodies like most primitive species." The commissioner spoke. "But your report did not classify them as primitives." "It did not. I only say they resemble primitives, but they are not such. They were engaged in advanced building techniques on the planet, and they had kinetic weapons even superior to ours. They have star travel along with related technology, as well as a sophisticated language." Another commissioner spoke. "They destroyed an entire mobile strike force of Grade N warriors. I believe we are more interested in how that came about, not their physical makeup or ancillary technological advancements." "Of course, Commissioner. As I said, they had weapons more advanced than ours. However, they did not seem to have many. After our initial attack, we reduced their numbers by half. They began with 36. But also in that first battle, we lost over 100 enforcers, as well as having the engines on our ship damaged. Because of that, we were unable to attain air superiority, forcing us to engage on land. That was the human strength. Even so, we drove them back to a central hiding location, where we continued to attack for several days. Their numbers continued to decline." The lead commissioner spoke again. "As did ours. You report that by the time of the last engagement, our forces were down to only 65. The commissioner checked his notes before speaking again. "And the humans were down to 9, possibly 10, he pointed out. Kanden clarified. "There were 10, until Lead Drayson killed the humans' female leader as she came to surrender her force. The commissioner looked at the other elites at the table. Then he spoke. The humans tried to surrender, and Drayson did not accept? Kanden spoke. He did not. Our victory was already guaranteed if the battle continued in its present state. Besides, the Lead was very upset about the loss of his enforcers. He did not feel the humans deserved to surrender. The second commissioner shook his head in disgust, saying, and because of that, Drayson's entire force was eliminated. That is true, Kanden said. But it was impossible for us to anticipate what came next. The humans came at us, initiating the attack as they had never done before. They wore bright yellow helmets and orange vests. They showed no fear, no remorse. They also came with strange new weapons we had never seen before. The lead commissioner frowned. Tell us about these weapons. Kanden nodded, the memory burning in his mind. Yes, they were cruel cutting weapons that could slice through our armor as if it wasn't there. And our skin and bones, they were no match. And then they had odd projectile weapons that impaled us with short metal stakes. There was also a heavy beast of a machine that spit deadly metal rods into the enforcers. Later, as the humans rampaged throughout the ship, they used instruments with a flat metal head on one side and a horrific double claw on the other to inflict lethal damage. Stabbing weapons, exploding guns that would anchor an enforcer in place, allowing other raiders to slice off heads and limbs. So many more devices, and of a variety as I have never experienced before. My commissioners, it was horrific, the savagery of these beasts. I have never witnessed such carnage nor heard about it in the annals. The commissioners were silent in thought, sensing that Kanden was near the end of his testimony. Still, there was one more line of questioning to pursue. The lead commissioner checked his notes again before speaking. Second lead Kanden, you mentioned in your report that these humans said they were not a military unit. Do you believe them? Kanden nodded. I do. At the point their leader told us that, all of the humans expressed humor at the implication that they were an elite military fighting unit. They said they were construction workers. Looking back at it now, at what the humans were working on at the time of our arrival, I can see that. They were builders, not warriors. The commissioner continued with his line of inquiry. Then how do you explain what happened to your highly skilled and trained enforcers? I have no explanation, Commissioner, Kanden replied. All I know is that their leader warned us not to go against their elite military units, of which he named some. I do not remember what he called them, but it seemed to be a point of levity among the humans at the prospect of an Endalin human clash between military forces. I sensed they believed it would not be a fair fight, with the humans coming out on top. And, Commissioner, from what I saw with the construction workers, I believe that would be true. The second commissioner protested. Are you saying you do not have faith in our military to prevail against these aliens? We have conquered 91 worlds and our influence is growing every cycle. Kanden knew he was dying, so he felt he could hold nothing back. With his last act of loyalty to his race, he had to tell the truth. He had to be honest. Commissioners, humans are unlike any species we have ever encountered. I feel that if we attempt any aggression against them, they will serve it back to us in multiples. Please consider this, the galaxy is a very big place. Surely there is room for both Endalins and humans. In your infinite wisdom, please do not create a problem when it can be avoided. Give the humans a wide berth, because I feel if we do not, there may not be an Endalin race going forward. Kanden continued. The human leader gave me a message to deliver to you. I believe it to be sage advice. I believe it to be advice we should heed. Their leader gave me this solemn warning. Don't mess with the humans. This has been Hard Hats vs. Aliens Part 2, an original short story by sci-fi novelist T.R. Harris. You can watch Hard Hats vs. Aliens Part 1 by clicking on the link in the description or on the end card at the end of this video. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to my channel. For almost 13 years I have been writing science fiction novels with an HFY slant, where humans are the supermen and women of the galaxy, the species to be feared and respected. You can find all of my 70+ novels on Amazon. Just follow the link in the channel description or go to my website at bytrharris.com. Thank you for watching.